If you're on the East Coast, good afternoon. If you're on the left coast, that is the West Coast, good morning. I have a very important announcement to make. I gave you some hint yesterday in a podcast. But after over a year of trying Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and James Biden for bribery from communist China, Ukraine, and Russia, and now, of course, recently we've learned Romania, as well as Joe Biden for negligent homicide, the citizens judge has handed down a memorandum opinion convicting them of those felony crimes. You can find this at freedomwatchusa.org, freedomwatchusa.org. I'll summarize briefly. In addition, we also have trials coming up in the future. We did try Dr. Anthony Fauci. The citizens judge is working on an opinion in that regard as well. He's been charged at a minimum with negligent homicide, just like Joe Biden was with regard to Afghanistan. And Biden has been convicted for that as well in terms of what went on in Afghanistan. This is important because the American people must now enforce the rule of law themselves. That's not just man-made law, but it's the law of nature and nature's God, as it says in our Declaration of Independence. Because when in the course of human events, the sovereign, in this case, our corrupt Gestapo-like Justice Department, no longer represents the people have a right under the laws of nature and nature's God to alter or abolish that government, and by extension, to take back their legal system, which is what occurred on July 4th, 1776, when King George took it away from us, our criminal justice system, and took it back to London. We have the right and the duty to enforce the rule of law. Fast forward to 1992. Justice Antonin Scalia issued a majority opinion for the Supreme Court in a case styled United States versus Williams. You can find that on our press release, which went out this morning. You can actually check it out, just Google it. And you can also go to our website at freedomwatchusa.org, is that the grand jury he held belongs to the American people, not the three branches of government. And therefore, by extension, we have control of our own legal system. It is not to the exclusion of what Congress enacted, however corrupt Congress may be as well, with regard to the Justice Department. It is in addition to, we have the right to try, to convict, to sentence, and to carry out those sentences. In fact, that's what we did in the Old West before there was a Justice Department on July 1st, 1870. We can proceed on a parallel track. Now, we have no ability at this point to influence a corrupt Justice Department run by a despot, Merrick Garland, a former so-called judge of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit, and his little lackey, who is more like Zelig in Woody Allen's movie. His name, of course, is Christopher Wray. He just does whatever he's told with regard to whoever is in power, and the two of them have not just been terrorizing January 6th peaceful protesters, not just parents at school board meetings, not just the Catholic and other faiths, and others that oppose the radical agenda of the left and Joe Biden, but anyone who criticizes this so-called government. So Freedom Watch, which does more than just get documents and expose things, we bring hard-hitting cases, we bring citizens' grand juries, we bring citizens' trials. We have brought this in the name of the American people. And when we got indictments of Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and James Biden, and the press release will tell you what date we did that on October 14, 2021. And you can find those indictments on our website at freedomwatchusa.org. We put all of the Bidens on notice, as well as Anthony Fauci at the time, that they could come and plead innocent, guilty, or nolo contendere. Nolo contendere means no contest. Of course, they ignored that. In fact, we notified them several times. They then, at the trial, did not show up. We also told them what date it would be. We told them when they could come. It was the first week in July. It continued thereafter with more information. They didn't show up to defend themselves. They could have asked for a jury. Since they didn't show up, we tried them in front of a judge. We could have, in fact, held them in default and not even had a trial. But we entered a plea of not guilty for them, and we proceeded to present information and evidence. Now, what is important is that even today they have an opportunity, because now that they've been convicted, and I'm just going to abbreviate because you can see exactly the memorandum of opinion. I want you to read it carefully, and I want you to spread it around. I want you to send it to people. The American people need to be educated that they have the right to enforce the rule of law themselves. Again, not just man law, but the law of God and nature's God. I want you to spread the word far and wide, but they are going to have an opportunity when they are sentenced on August 29, 2023, and we'll televise that, to come and to again wage a defense. We're going to open it up and let them do it. Of course, they won't appear because they have no respect for you. They have no respect for the American people. This is the attitude, not just with regard to the Bidens, but virtually everybody in Washington, D.C., in particular, the swamp, that they are above the law. They're this little club, this inside club. They're the new American nobility. They don't have to answer to the American people. Well, we know what happened in the days leading up to the French Revolution with Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette, when they said to the French people, après moi le déluge, after me, I couldn't give a flying, you know what, I'm going to cash in now. Well, Joe Biden has been cashing in, and Hunter Biden has been cashing in, and James Biden has been cashing in, and the entire Biden family has been cashing in with tens of millions of dollars of laundered money in a criminal racketeering enterprise for which they've been convicted, among other crimes, including the Foreign Agents Registration Act, you name it. Got to read that conviction at freedomwatchusa.org. They have been cashing in. Joe Biden, who's never had a job in the private sector, is a multimillionaire owning many houses, many properties. He sits there with a smile and a grin, knowing that he can't be touched, because not only is there a Justice Department, which he controls, which has become a Gestapo, but you have cowardly, compromised Republicans who simply run around Capitol Hill like the Keystone Cops. Some of you are too young to remember, with their chickens without their heads on, saying, we're going to do X, Y, Z. Look at what we found, but they do nothing in the end. It's all about fundraising for the Republicans. It's all about trying to reacquire power. And then when they acquire power, they do little to nothing. They haven't balanced the budget when they controlled all three branches of government. They didn't reform Obamacare in any major way when they had all three branches of government. They didn't give us the clarion calls on the disasters in Afghanistan and now in Ukraine. They are there for themselves. They are not there for the American people. They think they're super important. They wear their little congressional pins, whether it's the House of Representatives or otherwise. You got a Speaker of the House, frankly, who is a moron. I hate to say that, but he is. He's stupid. This is Kevin McCarthy, and he's compromised. He probably has traded in influence himself. In fact, most of them up there in Capitol Hill have as well, but not to the extent of Joe Biden, with tens of millions of dollars in all likelihood. But they will be held accountable too, because what we have in Washington, D.C. is the Sodom and Gomorrah. It's everything for themselves, nothing for the American people. Crumbs are left for the American people. And it is time for the American people to rise up and do what we need to do. And we intend to do it peacefully and legally. So once the sentences are handed down, and that's up to the citizens judge, Michael Pendleton, but I'm confident, given the severity of the crimes, which are numerous, that there will be jail time. The citizens judge will then give the Bidens an opportunity to turn themselves in. If they do not turn themselves in, then we will ask law enforcement and the military to take them into custody and to put them in prison where they belong. In 48 states of this country, including the District of Columbia, believe it or not, if citizens have a right, if there's probable cause, which is very, very low standard, as Justice Scalia wrote in his opinion, United States versus Williams. Please read it. You can find the site on our press release at freedomwatchusa.org. They have a right to conduct a citizen's arrest and then turn the person who is known to or believed to have committed a felony over to law enforcement. We've gone beyond that. We actually have convictions. It's not just knowledge of a felony. There is now a legal process that has been put in place to justify taking them into custody. And I believe, and we're going to send out a clarion call to law enforcement and the military, there's got to be people out there who love this country, who believe that you just can't sit around watching Sean Hannity on Fox News or MSNBC or CNN, the Communist News Network or whatever. There's got to be people in this country that know that we have to take matters into our own peaceful and legal hands. It will not be physical, it will not be forceful, it will be peaceful and legal. But if nothing else, the American people are going to learn that our future for ourselves, for our kids, grandkids, and future generations lies in our own hands. We cannot depend on the evil socialist, communist, atheist Democrats, and we can't depend on the money-hungry, power-hungry, racketeering enterprise in its own right of the Republican Party that continues to raise money hand over fist, promising things that they never intend to deliver. If nothing else, we need to hold Biden, his son, and his brother accountable by way of example. President Trump has now been indicted 4 times and likely a 5th time in Arizona. He is being destroyed. Make no mistake about it. Even though he's going to run for president, he may win the primary. It's very unlikely he wins the general election. He'll be so bogged down in lawsuits and trials and financial problems and everything else. There's no way that he's likely to become president of the United States again. It will probably turn out, given the fact that the American people are not aware of what's going on. We need to make them aware. You could wind up with someone like Gavin Newsom from California. Now, we don't try to influence elections, but I'm telling you, is that what we need to do right now, because I don't think we can survive another year and a half under Joe Biden. He's not only brain dead, he's not only a criminal, he's stupid. He could not even write anything for his campaigns without plagiarizing the work of others. I recently looked at his IQ, which is on the internet. It's barely above being retarded, frankly. We have to get rid of this guy, and the best way to do it is to put him in prison. So that's my message for today. Go to freedomwatchusa.org. See what we've done. No other public interest group would do this. No other person would stick his neck out as we have. We have the right to do it. We have the legal right to do it. You should support us. Support us with tax-deductible contributions. We need to get bigger. We need more lawyers. We need more paralegals. We need more office space. We need more resources to bring these trials. Next up on our list is Anthony Fauci. Then we'll get back to Robert Mueller, who conducted a totally fraudulent witch hunt. And we're going to get to federal judges in the District of Columbia, U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, and also the appellate court, who are totally corrupted, who are the tools of the establishment, who are persecuting innocent, peaceful protesters by throwing them in prison and then forcing them to get down on their knees and make forced confessions as if this were Iran, the former Soviet Union, in fact, Russia now, or China, or North Korea. American people could not live under these conditions. And if you care one iota about your kids and grandkids and future generations, as our founding fathers did, they didn't have to declare independence. They didn't have to wage a revolution. They were rich beyond belief. Things during the colonies were much less bad than they are today. If you think that you can sit there and do nothing, then you're as guilty as the criminals who are destroying this country, including Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and James Biden, and Fauci and others, and these federal judges who are abusing their oath of office and, in fact, acting in a criminal fashion in the District of Columbia. So go to freedomwatchusa.org. I want you also, not because I make money off of it, because I really don't. I want you to get my book. It Takes a Counter-Revolution. You can get it at freedomwatchusa.org. It's my plan on how we'll save this country, and what we've just done in trying Joe, Hunter, and James Biden is detailed with the legal basis of doing it in this book. We, the American people, as Benjamin Franklin said, must all hang together, or separately we won't hang. Thank you. Remember, the Father and Son will only help us if we help ourselves. You haven't heard the last of Larry Klayman and Freedom Watch, and I hope we haven't heard the last of you. Get active, do what needs to be done if you care at all about yourself, your kids, grandkids, and future generations. Go to freedomwatchusa.org, contribute to our cause with tax-deductible contributions, join our Justice League, volunteer, give us information that we can then act on, and this country can be saved. Thank you for listening to me.